Preseason is in the books and the real stuff begins now. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leafs-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morisuti. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. What's happening, Dave? How are we feeling on a Monday?
Feeling pretty good. It was a big weekend for our boys in blue.
Yeah, see you're rocking the Blue Jays jersey today. Definitely excited and proud. Big dubs, man. Big dubs for the Blue Jays. Love to see it. Hopefully the Leafs can keep those vibes going all the way through the fall, through the summer, and all the way around to next spring. We can have a full, year round of good vibes in the city of Toronto. Wouldn't that be nice?
I mean, it'd be incredible. I mean, it's funny because you think back to the last time the Jays were, on a big playoff run. Like, I'm not talking about those wild card from a few years ago, like 10 years ago. The Leafs stunk, right?
Sure.
Raptors were at least a contending team, right? But it just feels you kind of get a return to that 2015, 2016 vibe, and that's why I'm wearing this jersey, because this is my Donaldson jersey that I wore. That time. I wanted to get a little bit of a throwback, bring back those vibes.
Yeah, a little bringer of rain action over there, Dave. So congrats, big ups to the Blue Jays. You can go check out the Locked On Blue Jays podcast to learn more about their wins this weekend. But the Maple Leafs did have a game this weekend as well. I'm not sure how many people were, fully tuned into this one. There was so much going on over the weekend, but the Leafs end up losing 6-5 to the Detroit Red Wings in extra time. And we got to see James Reimer. We got to see Nick Robertson. Got to see a bunch of the Marlies guys really out there playing. Easton Cowan did get into another game, his fifth of the preseason. What did you make of that game? What takeaways did you have from the Leafs preseason finale?
Yeah, it's kind of what I expected with that type of lineup. It wasn't, I would say defense was not exactly on either team's mind. But it's a couple of interesting developments. Man, that Alex Nylander goal, I always say that I'm surprised that hasn't really gotten an NHL chance with the team. Like, he's firmly an AHL guy. But it's just crazy that, he hasn't been given another opportunity to really try to make an NHL roster again. And Michael Pezzetta, man, he must feel good. The guy could not score to save his life last year, and he scored in preseason. So, I mean, in a game like this, there are only obviously the couple players to really watch for, which was Cowan and Robertson, because those are the ones that had that kind of aspiration to make the opening night lineup. I guess Yarn Krok too. Sorry, include him in that. But yeah, kind of felt like one of those games where you're just you just kind of have to look at the individual performance rather than the team result.
Yeah, 100%. And again, we always kind of talk about the preseason in that way, right? Where the team result, it matters to an extent, but not a whole lot in the preseason, as long as you got some guys who, show up and show off well. And it was an important game for some of those players out there the other night. Like, an important game for Easton Cowan, an important game for Nick Robertson. It was an important game for Calle Yarncroc, who got out there for so those are guys who are still battling for those final spots. And Nylander, to an extent, maybe also, with being a depth guy, he had a chance last year to come up and play, and maybe a good showing here, would also prove that he's not too far off from being a call up for the Maple Leafs. So, you wanted to see these guys play well. Nick Robertson scored again, and then Nick Robertson. Now you look and it's just like, man, he's probably going to end up being on this team now. Like, it's so funny, and we'll talk about this in a moment, but like the Lawton injury, how much that actually changes things. And it's pretty significant. It's not as much as I thought. But one of the things that I believe will be one of the fallouts of the injury is Nick Robertson probably sticks around and will end up in the lineup on opening night. And the one who may not is Easton Cowan. 5th preseason game. He was a -2, held pointless. It's not all that. Like, again, it's a preseason game, but your team scores 5 goals and you're a -2 and you're held pointless and you're fighting to win a roster spot. And you were supposed to be, a guy who had the upper hand in that bid. It's just not the best final showing, I guess, for Easton Cowan.
No, I wanted him to, again, I'm not expecting to go out and have like a hat trick or have a bunch of points, but you also don't want to be on the other side of the ledger either, where you're minus and things don't look exactly as rosy in terms of your stat line. So I do think that, and it's funny because like right after the game, Mark Masters asked Craig Berube, like, what do you think about Easton Cowan and his ability to make the roster? And I think like, he said he's ready to make it, right? We got decisions to make, but he showed that he's ready and he's got the motor, he's got the IQ. So like it's kind of interesting because this whole idea of the Lawton injury, we kind of brought it up on the other show where now you make certain roster decisions. Max Domi. We'll talk about how that looks for him and things like that. Like the fallout effect of losing one player down the middle just kind of changes the whole dynamic.
It really does. It really does. And he was almost like a glue guy. Oh, dog's getting a little upset there. Almost like the glue guy in a way where it's like everything fell nicely into place and he gets hurt. And it's like, well, now we got to shift a little bit here and there. Again, we'll get to that in just a second, but really quickly, the last guy I wanted to touch on in the preseason game, James Reimer got to hit the ice, so we got a chance to see James Reimer for half the game. Didn't look great though. Didn't look too good. Gave up 4 goals on 24 shots and ends up taking the loss to the Detroit Red Wings. Again, it was his first action all season, first action of the preseason. What this means, I don't know. But what I can tell you is rosters are due later today at 5 p.m., Dave. And this guy's yet to convert his PTO into a contract. And maybe after seeing what happened and the fact that Dennis Hildeby has been the far better goaltender in camp, perhaps rhyme time will be very short-lived here in Toronto.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed to see again, yeah, he didn't, it's like get thrown into a game halfway through, and I would have loved to have seen him really put himself in a good position to make the team, but that also means, are you gonna commit to him for the whole year and give up a contract spot and all those things? And the Marlies goalie situation, you also think about that a little bit. So I kind of wish, it was nice to see. I was like, it just feels weird. Then 2025, we have James Reimer back in a Leafs uniform playing a game. But at the same time, yeah, I kind of wished he would have put himself in a better position, but at the same time, I don't think the team played entirely well in front of him either. And 4-on-3 overtime power play, those are always a tough position to put any goalie in. But yeah, I think I just, as based off what I would expect, I think this was just like an emergency case situation. We'll see if that changes, but it doesn't look like it right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I was trying to look it up, though, like how long someone could be on a PTO without signing a contract. They could stick around and practice and get a look at practice. So I'm not sure if he doesn't sign by 5 o'clock, does that PTO expire? Does he become a free agent again? And that means that, it's his tenure here is over. I'm not 100% sure on what that means, or if he can still stick around on the PTO, get some more practices in and be with the team. And then, if they need him to play and need him to be a backup or something, then they could sign him again. Just keep him around possibly. Again, unsure what the situation is, if that's possible. But if so, doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt to have an extra goaltender, around if you need them. That's for sure. All right, we've been kind of teasing and talking about the Laughton injury and how that impacted the lines. Well, we got our first look over the weekend, our first look today at what the lines might look like with Scott Laughton out. It's far different than what it looked like a week ago. We'll come back and we'll show you those next during the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
Today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. It's built for people with busy lives. Monarch helps you organize your finances and make sure that it's all put in the right spot for you. It does all the heavy lifting. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. And that's probably the big thing about Monarch. It's the convenience of it being on your phone. You can identify all your different accounts, make sure you're maximizing on your investments, and increase your savings rate. Easily review finance with your partner and or financial advisor, keeping a clear view of your financial health week to week and long term. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNHL.
Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morsuti with you, as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, free and available wherever you get a podcast. We're also up on YouTube. We ask if you enjoy listening to us or you want to know the latest of what's going on in Leafland, subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast, get the latest delivered to you, and get your daily dose of Maple Leafs content with us here at the Locked On Leafs podcast. So last week, Friday, we got news that Scott Laughton was going to be week to week. So he's going to be out a little bit here. Still don't know the exact, impact of this injury or exactly how long he's going to be out quite yet. But we do know that, boy, did it ever put this roster into a bit of a flux, which is interesting. You don't look at a fourth line and think, whatever, fourth liner, they're usually quite interchangeable. Doesn't seem to be the case with Scott Laughton, because the lines that we saw show up at practice today do look far different than what they looked like a week ago when he was healthy and looked like he was going to be a staple on the team.
Yeah, I mean, it is crazy, especially when you consider, you're talking about the fourth line, how little they kind of play, right? They are not expecting to play 15, 60 minutes a game, and yet practice comes about, and it's like people, I got so many messages that people are really up in the air a little bit about how things have kind of shifted just because of we're talking about one injury. Right, we're not talking about a few guys banged up. We're talking about one guy, and it's just thrown a massive wrench into everything.
Yeah. And again, like a fourth liner, like it's supposed to be your fourth line center, and the fact that it's made such a big difference is quite surprising. Do you have the lines? Do you have a tweet out of the lines? We could throw them up. We kind of break it down, because this is now what I would say is expected to be the opening night lineup. This is what we saw this morning on Monday, just 2 days before we dropped the puck on Wednesday for game one of the season. If this is the lines that you're practicing with, this is probably the look that you're trying to get. You're trying to see, all right, let's see if the chemistry is there for these guys, because they didn't practice these lines much throughout camp, specifically in the bottom six. So now they're really kind of playing catch up a little bit in the chemistry department. But Michelli moves back up with Matthew Nyes and Austin Matthews. So my desert line, as I've called it, with Nyes, Matthews, and Michelli, looks like that'll get a look on in game number one. McMahon sticks with Tavares and Nylander, so that line goes kind of untouched. That's been a line all camp long, and it feels like that's going to be something that Berube wants to keep going to. The bottom six is where things get pretty different. So Domi comes off the top line, and they put him back at 3C. So you've got Max Domi, Dakota Joshua, and Nick Robertson right now is your third line. And then your fourth line, so Nicola Waugh drops down to the fourth line. You've got Nick Waugh, Steve Lorentz, and Callie Yarncroc. Easton Cowan was filtering in and out, but did skate mainly as an extra, I saw. So you've got Cowan as an extra, both Robertson and Yarncroc in. Domi's a centerman. Waz on the fourth line. Dude, this is a lot of change for one injury. But just kind of speaks to maybe the importance of what Scott was in terms of being a glue guy, a staple guy in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, it also maybe just also speaks to how Craig Berube views, how he wants things to be kind of deployed, right? And how he wants certain players to be used. Because we talked about, okay, Scott Lonzo, maybe you move like a Lorentz there. Maybe you put Camp there. Maybe you put Yarncroc down the middle. But it's like, wow, he really values more Domi as a center in those situations than anything else.
Well, it does appear, and if you put the lines back up there for a moment, the fourth line to me is like the matchup checking line, right? Yeah. Like you're not going to put Domi and Robertson on a matchup line. That's just not going to happen. So now you're looking and like, okay, well, if we're going to put Robertson, Domi in a line together, it's not going to be in a matchup role. But Lorentz, Waugh, and then probably Yarncroc seems to be the guy who's in the lead right now. He's definitely probably more responsible defensively than Easton Cowan is at this point in his career. Like that's now the matchup line. So instead of having a top six, bottom six, it's almost as if they're looking down like, okay, we've got a top nine and then a fourth line that we believe can be defensively responsible and can certainly be a matchup against the opposition's, top six. So that's, the difference in deployment with and without Scott Laughton, which I think is very interesting. But it drops, Nicola Waugh down, and all of a sudden things just look a little different. And not to say it's going to be, far worse playing out this way, but it's going to be a little bit different than maybe we initially thought. So whether that means that Matthews, Nyes, and Michelli play a little bit more defensively than we originally thought, or perhaps it's the second line of Nylander, McMahon, and Tavares. Maybe they get more defensive minutes, defensive zone starts than we initially planned. Because I doubt they're going to want to start Domi, Robertson, Joshua in their own zone too often, right? Like that's probably a lineup that'll be an on the fly type of line change, or someone that they could throw out in the offensive zone. Hopefully Domi wins a face-off, and then they can kind of go from there. But that's just the deployment's going to be far different than we initially thought. And I just think that's very, very interesting. No differences on the defense, obviously. Yeah. This is how things ended last year. Riley and Carlo, McCabe and Tanev, and Ekman Larson and Simon Benoit as your sixth defenseman. And then in practice today was Stolars with Hildeby as the backup, not James Reimer. So Stolars and Hildeby looks like that could be your game one tandem, with Joseph Woll still away due to personal family reasons, still unsure how long he's going to be away for. But the fact that he's not here and it's 2 days before camp, he won't be ready to go for the start of the season. There's going to be some sort of process to get him ready, probably a conditioning stint of some kind. So my guess is, Hildeby, Stolars is probably, unless they sign Reimer at some point later today, going to be your 1-2 punch here for the first couple of weeks of the season, which obviously means we'll get a heavy dose of Anthony Stolarz in the first few weeks here.
Yeah, and I'm not like ever since the Wool situation happened, I think this was it was always leaning towards this way, just because Stolarz wants to prove that he can handle it too, right? I know that everyone talks about it being a tandem situation, all that, but Stolarz also, I think, wants to be able to show people that he can step in, right? And he has, you want to be able to play your backup during those back-to-back situations, but you don't want to have to hear, oh, maybe he needs a little extra rest, or maybe he needs a game or two off just because he's not used to it. I think he wants to show that he can be the guy, especially after signing this contract. Like, this is a big prove you moment, even though he's got that security. I think he wants to show that, that faith that the Leafs showed by signing that extension was well deserved.
This might turn out to be such a steal, Dave. Like the fact that he signed, at sub 4. If he can turn it, no, it was like 3.25. Is that what the final number was? 3.75, right? 3.75. If he can, become a number one and play 45 to 50 games and still be, sub 250 goals against with a 9, 15-ish save percentage, man, that'll turn out to be such a steal of a contract. If he can give him that regularly year in and year out, and he'll get the opportunity right away to play many games and get his game off on the right footing. All right. Rosters due today at 5 p.m. So I have a better understanding of what's going on. Interestingly enough, too, actually, I forgot to mention this, but David Kampf, I somewhat expected him to get recalled, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't happen. I figured they might recall Kampf and use him as your 4C, was your 3C, and then you didn't have to actually do a lot of these gymnastics. But that has not yet been the case. Perhaps later on down the road, so they send Cowan down to the American League if he doesn't, if they don't feel like he could fill the same role without Laughton, and then Kampf comes back up possibly. But I kind of thought it was interesting that they didn't bring him back up, or at least have him here playing alongside some potential line mates if he gets the call up. And just decide to leave him down in the minors for the time being. Just kind of, I don't know, it stood out to me as kind of odd. I sort of expected, once he cleared waivers, he'd probably come back up. Maybe they thought, okay, if he gets claimed, cool. If not, we could still use him as depth now that Laughton's out. But they decided to go in a different direction, clearly, which I thought was kind of odd.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just kind of. Sometimes people think, oh, is there a trade happening? And we've seen guys who clear waivers then get traded. That could be the case. I think with I think now with the injury, I thought it would have been different, but yeah, I know I'm seeing the same thing.
Okay,
right now.
All right, let's take a break. There's some breaking news in the hockey world that does not at this point. David Kampf is.
David Kamp's not with the team. Who cares? We got other stuff to talk about.
All right, let's take a break. Let's come back. There's some breaking news. We'll get to that next on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NHL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 to get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5. If it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love it. You can use it on player props. You can use it on futures. You can use it on same game parlays. However you want to use it. It makes watching hockey even more exciting when you got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Today's show is also brought to you by Farm to Fork. If you're a fan of premium, locally farmed meat delivered straight to your door, I've got some exciting news. Farm to Fork makes it easy to get high-quality steaks, air-chilled chicken, wild-caught seafood, and more, all with no antibiotics, hormones, or GMOs. Plus, everything comes flash frozen and individually packaged for for your convenience. All farm to fork meats are raised in Canada, raised on Canadian farms. So when you order, you're supporting local producers. It's time to buy Canadian. Farm to fork meats are top notch. I've had some amazing steaks. They were tender, juicy, and perfectly cooked. Their chicken is air chilled, so it's fresher and more flavorful than when you get it in the store. The wild caught seafood is a game changer. It's fresh, it's clean, it's full of flavor. They're delivering all across Ontario and in Western Quebec. And the best part, delivery is free. You heard it, free, with a minimum order of $199. You don't even have to leave the house to get this quality. I've got a special code for you, Locked On listeners. Use Locked On 40 and get $40 off your first order at Farm to Fork. Visit farmtoforkdelivery.ca to start stocking up on the best meats around. Again, that's Locked On 40 for $40 off your first order. Farm to Fork, delicious, locally farmed meats delivered straight to your door. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morisuti with you here on Monday, October 6th, which will forever be known as McDavid Day in Edmonton. Because, Dave, it sounds as though, as of 12:24 p.m., the time of this recording, we're starting to see some reports out there that Connor McDavid will not be coming to Toronto next year, because it sounds like he is signing an extension to remain with the Edmonton Oilers. What a shame. What a shame.
Yep. Connor McDavid actually just tweeted, because for Ellie Freeman saying the extension was trending. I think Rashog also said it.
Oh,
and
yeah. Once they say it's coming, it's here, it's done. It's a done deal.
Yeah. But McDavid did say that our journey here continues. So he is sticking with the Oilers. We don't know the exact details. Freeman had said in 32 Thoughts that it will likely be a short-term deal, not a long-term deal.
Yeah, that's been the discourse since last year. Realistically, it's like, well, how long will he want? Could it be a 2-year deal, a 3-year deal, a 4-year deal? I'd be shocked if it was anything longer than that. I think anywhere between 2 to 4 years, and that gives Edmonton that much time to win a championship, and that'll be pretty much through his prime. Take him into his 30s at that point, and well, we'll see if they end up with a championship by then. We don't have the details as Dave mentioned yet on term and AAV, but if I had to take a guess, again, 2 to 4 year term is my guess. AAV, it's got to be at minimum 17.5. No, it's got to be above that Kaprizov number. It just has to be.
There was a suggestion that it could be between where did I see somewhere wondering if it was going to be between around 16 million or just below it, and I'm
I can't see that. I can't see that. For he has a duty to the NHLPA also to reset the market, reset the bar once again. That's what he has to do. And I think it's got to be in that number. I'll be very disappointed. Let me put it that way. I will be disappointed in McDavid if he's unable to, squeeze the Oilers for 17.5. I get it. He wants to leave money on the table perhaps to build a better team. But at the same time, I just feel like the best player in the world has to be paid appropriately and paid as such and be the highest paid player in the game.
Yeah, but that's he's the one that you should be the one setting the tone, right? In a lot of these things, players, if I'm an NHL player, I'm expecting Connor McDavid to, be the one that if you want to see player salary go up or if you want certain things done, he has to be the one to take that charge because he is the top player in the league, right? So I totally agree with that sentiment. It's just he didn't do it the first time where he could have taken more, and he still got paid the most.
Yeah,
so that didn't happen. But I'm like, can we at least see him he should be? All intents and purposes, there should be no reason why he is not the highest paid player.
No, absolutely not. Should be. And again, those details will probably come out within the next hour or so, of course, probably right when we log off and finish recording, we'll probably have the information. But it's something we can dive into a little more tomorrow on the show when we get that information. We did want to dive a little bit into the Locked On Network's top 100, and of course, Connor McDavid led all voting, was the number one player. 3 Maple Leafs made the top 100 list. I gotta tell you, there's a massive snub. Like the fact that only 3 guys made it, and one of them is not Matthew Nyes, is absolutely an albatross, if you ask me. But Austin Matthews debuts on the NHL Locked On NHL's top 100 as the number 6 player in the NHL. So the rest of the Locked On Network appreciating what Austin Matthews could do. The NHL Network themselves obviously did not. They have at 15th, I think it was. Yeah, Locked On NHL Network and the rest of our hosts, good on you for recognizing that was a down year last season, and he's ready to bounce back. He comes in at number 6. William Nylander comes in at number 24 on the Locked On NHL's top 100. But that was a tad high or low, however you want to look at it. I think he's a top 20 player for sure. But whatever, top 25 player. I'm not gonna argue too much. John Tavares slips down to number 86. So I don't know if that's age related, what it was, but I thought that was a little bit low. I thought for sure he was someone who'd be in the top 75 at the very least still in the NHL. I know he was in my top 75. I cannot believe that Matthew Nyes was not selected among the top 100. And maybe it's just because we're so close to Nyes, and with him being a Maple Leaf, and we've gotten to watch him and we see what he can do for the Leafs, right? And how competitive of a player he is, and at times almost the best, most dominant player on the ice. Maybe some others don't get to see that on a daily basis, but I think it's absolutely asinine to look at Matthew Nyes and not have him as a top 100 player in the league already.
I mean, he'll show a lot of people. Like, here's the thing: he's not in there now. He's just going to make a lot of people look ridiculous
next year, guaranteed. Like, legitimately, I will guarantee that he will be here next season. I have full guarantee on that one. I want to see who was it that like just nudged him out in the top 100. So ranked at 100 was Thomas Hertl, Erik Karlsson, interesting, Brock Faber, Logan Cooley, Matt Duchene, and then Jared McCann or Noah Dobson 95, Jared McCann at 94, William Eklund at 92. I mean,
these guys are not like Jared McCann a couple years ago. Okay, the guy scored about 40 goals. I can see that, but really,
yeah.
if you had to ask any of our hosts, maybe our hosts just aren't as familiar with Matthew Nyes' game. I can understand maybe a little bit of that, but if we were to say take Eklund or McCann over Nyes, I don't think many people. I don't even think if we ask a lot of other people who, I would call them maybe not Leaf lovers, they would probably say, yeah, maybe Matthew Nyes should be a bit higher there.
And not to be a Habs apologist, but Cole Caulfield at 93 is also criminal. To have Cole Caulfield below William Eklund is wild. Caulfield had 40-some goals last year, didn't he? What Eklund do in San Jose? Not a whole lot. Last time I checked, to be honest with you. So that's kind of interesting to see him that high. But yeah, there's a number of names that I would personally have over. I would have Nyes over some of these guys that are on this list. I definitely had him on my top 100. I'm not sure how he slipped out of the top 100. But that to me was the biggest obvious snub in terms of Maple Leafs here. Mitch Marner came in at number 15. So Marner right in between Austin Matthews and William Nylander, right smack dab in the middle of those two.
One other update from Craig Berube. No decision has been made on Easton Cowan.
Okay. Well,
so no guarantee he's making the open night roster, which, oh boy, that's going to get some people a little upset.
Yeah.
So many people we thought the Jays vibes wouldn't change our mood at all. Now Leafs fans have to hear McDavid re-signing with the Oilers and Easton Cowan either potentially the 13th forward or not making the team. It's okay.
If he's the 13th forward, like if the lines we saw today in practice are what he thinks are like your day one lineup, and Cowan's not there, and he'll be the 13th forward, you have to send him down.
I said this. I've been consistent on this. I'd rather Nick Robertson being a 13th forward over Easton Cowan. Calle Yarncroc as the 13th forward. I will take that over Easton Cowan. The only way I want to see Easton Cowan on this team is if he is going to be in the lineup consistently. I don't like that look on your face.
No, according to Elliot Friedman, McDavid's not the only piece of business.
I just saw that too. What?
Jake Wallman, 7x7 for Jake Wallman.
And Connor McDavid wants to sign with this team?
Dude.
Oh, man, if Connor McDavid if he took less than what Kaprizov made, just so they can sign Jake Wallman to 7, enjoy your misery in Edmonton,
That's why it's like, why would you possibly leave money on the table? Like, you're gonna leave an extra $2 million on the table so that Wallman can get that extra $2 million? Like, for what reason? How does that make any sense as a person, as a player, for your own future? Like, I don't know, the way that GMs waste money, I wouldn't be leaving any money on any table, because it's not like it's going to get utilized properly. That's for sure. But we still don't have the details as we sign off here on the McDavid deal. But it's here, and if you're listening to this, it's probably out there by now, and we'll break it down tomorrow and talk about it. So that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at @the_Morrisuni, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow. Ooh, you know what tomorrow is, Dave?
What's tomorrow?
Over, unders, and predictions day. The annual over, unders, and prediction show. That's going to be tomorrow. I'm excited. That's always a fun show to do in the time, and then to look back on it months later at the end of the season to see how dumb we were with our predictions. But that'll be on tomorrow's show. We'll dive a little deeper into the McDavid contract as well once the details are all out there. But until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.